Before joining the project, I was a huge fan of R.L. Stine. I read Goosebumps a lot growing up, like constantly, all the time. I've read so many of them. And I had never read of any of the Fear Streets before, but I had read a lot of Goosebumps, and I read a few of his other series as well. And I remember, like, as a kid watching, like, a documentary about him and how he wrote books and stuff. So, like, meeting him for the first time, it was over Zoom, but I was like, this is so surreal.
My first impression of Dina was that she was extremely passionate, extremely resilient, strong, determined. So my first thought was she's just a hero. You know, when I read the script, I was like, this is a girl who's willing to do anything and everything for the people that she loves. She's willing to do anything to protect them. And it just had hero written all over it. So that was really inspiring for me.
Yeah, I think like my first impression of Sam was kind of like the script as a whole. Like each character really fits kind of a specific like movie tropey character. And then it was really cool like reading it to see like Sam get deconstructed and to see like what she's going through and stuff. And I thought it was a character that was like very cool and misunderstood. And I thought that I could do a lot with it and really take her on a journey, which was exciting. Shooting the initial first scene of Sam and Dina talking under the bleachers at the football game, that was actually a really crazy scene to film.
I think it was probably our first big scene together, just the two of us. And it was shot, if I'm correct, it was shot all through Steadicam. So normally when you're shooting, a lot of times they have like stationary cameras set up to get coverage. But we shot that scene in such an interesting way because it was Steadicam with our amazing Steadicam operator. His name is Nick Mueller. Amazing. We would shoot it in a way where it would be on me, and then it would move to Olivia, and then it would move to me, and then it would move to Olivia. It was very fluid.
We did it a lot of different times, and I wish I have a picture of like our marks on the ground from that day, and like mine was yellow and Kiana's was purple, and there's so many like marks on the ground because we had to hit very specific points on very specific lines. And it was kind of like doing a play each time because there was like so much movement.
To start our scenes together with that one shot in that way really set a precedent to the way that we work together and the amount of intensity and focus and intention that we brought to our characters and to the whole trilogy. Working with Benji, who plays Josh, my little brother in the movie, where do I even start? Benji honestly still feels like a little brother to me. I have in real life a little sister and an older brother, and I'm really close with both of them. So I feel very strongly about sibling dynamics. And working with Benji was such a dream. He's so funny, and he brought aspects to Josh and characteristics that I wouldn't have picked up personally reading them on the script. So Benji just brought so much of his own humor and nuances, and he's such a great actor and such a smart person. So just I think my admiration for him in real life really reflected in the characters that we play, because even his character is so smart. Like these characters would not have gone as far in their quest to break the curse if it wasn't for Josh. So it was nice, you know, it's such a blessing that I love Benji in real life and Dina loves Josh. So just being able to have a space to play with that and allow those true feelings that we have to shine on screen is always such a blessing. So yeah, I'm so happy that Benji was cast as Josh. It was great.
I think developing the Sam and Dina relationship with Kiana was a very like rare and wonderful experience, in the sense of like, it was so fun to act with her, and she's such a dedicated actor. And we both like, I feel like we established like a really cool level of communication really early on.
The dynamic between Olivia and I and Sam and Dina is so important because Sam and Dina's love is really the anchor and the core of the whole trilogy. So developing that dynamic and that relationship was really important for us. as well as our director, Lee Janiak, from day one.
We just got really good at being like, do you need anything? Like, what do you need? Do you need anything from me? Like, the camera's on you right now. Like, do you need me to do anything differently so that it gets like a reaction out of you that you want? You know what I mean? Like, we really were able to really tell each other what each other needed.
Olivia and I actually had a chemistry read together before we got the roles, and we were able to work together for probably 2 hours with Lee and some of our producers, and just, you know, exploring our chemistry, making sure that we would be the ones who would be cast in the role. But through that time that we were given in the chemistry read, it really allowed us to see that, okay, if we are the ones who book this project, number one, we know that we have chemistry, so that's always good when you're portraying a love story. But more importantly, often than that, is developing a safe space to explore that chemistry.
And also, that was cool because we were able to come up with ideas for scenes together. I remember reading the 1994 script and being like, this is crazy. Like, I was so, and like Lee had told me prior to me reading the script that I would get drowned in a lobster tank. But I don't think she told me that I would get possessed by the devil. So that was even, I thought I had known all the big surprises, but I was very in the dark on that one.
Representing the queer community in Fear Street, it has been and is still such an honor. The representation of the queer community on screen in general is, you know, not where it needs to be, and especially in genre films like horror films. There are so many tropes that have existed in the past where queer characters wouldn't even live past the first 10 pages of a script. So to have this trilogy that's anchored in a queer love story and played by two actors representing queer women, it's just so groundbreaking. And I feel like I hope and I have faith that it's just a step in the right direction, and that this will just continue to open the doors for so much more representation on screen. Sarah and Hannah, they're definitely a parallel of Sam and Dina. So it was really nice getting to go back and kind of explore the origins in a way of Sam and Dina, because when we meet Sam and Dina in movie 1, they're already post-breakup. So we don't actually get to see the beginnings of them, you know, expressing their love for each other, and the little like nervousness of getting to know each other, and all of those things that we get to see with Sarah and Hannah. So it felt very full circle.
And it also, I think, makes you fall in love with Sam and Dina even more, because it's more or less, you know what I mean, like a representation of what we haven't seen of their relationship, and it's us playing the characters, and you really like fall in love with them and are rooting for them. And so it was fun and very sweet, and I think so like cool and essential to the story as a whole.
They were in 1994, these characters were dealing with a lot too in the supernatural world. And so that definitely parallels the 1666 movie where Sarah says, I will go make a deal with the devil. I'm not afraid of these people. I'm not afraid of the devil. I'm afraid of these people.
I don't fear the devil, Hannah. I fear the neighbor who would accuse me. I fear the mother that would let her daughter hang.
That just goes to show that when marginalized groups of people are told that they can't be free and that they're cursed, like the Shadysiders were told, that puts a burden on them to carry, whether or not that burden really exists in real life or not. Oh, the scene where Sarah loses her hand, I can say, was the most intense scene to shoot for me personally. Working with Ashley Zuckerman, who plays Solomon Good and Nick Good, Ash is an incredible actor. And when you work with incredible actors, things often feel very real in terms of emotion and intensity. And the scene in the tunnels where Sarah loses her hand definitely felt real in terms of the circumstances and the stakes being so high. Like you have this man here who wants to save you, but also feels like he wants to kill you, and it's very dangerous and it's very terrifying. And so that scene was very intense to film.
We filmed 1994 first, and then we filmed the 1600s one second, and then we filmed 78 last. So it was really cool because there was never really, even though Fred and Julia, who play Simon and Kate, they die in the 90s movie. our filming schedule, like I feel like we filmed the grocery store sequence where they die before we wrapped 94. So it was like they died, but technically they were still just like around doing other scenes in the world of like in the filming the movie world.
The last showdown scene in part 3, 1666, where we come back to 1994 in the mall, was so fun to film. We were in that mall doing that sequence, I think it was for a week, maybe more, but at least a week. So it took a lot of time to shoot all those scenes. And a lot of times, you know, when you're in the same location and you're shooting the same sequence, it can get a little bit stale and a little bit boring. But that genuinely was not the case doing this, because we had actors like Daryl, who played Martin, and Gillian, who played older Ziggy. And they're so funny that I love part 3 when we go back to 1994, because it just has so much fun and so much humor and so much action. Like that scene where the killers are going after each other. And then like, I kind of felt like an action star, honestly, filming like that final showdown scene, especially when Dina goes in, like crosses through the door, and then there's the flashing lights. I'm like just following through, and now like she's almost like the hunter and Nick Good is the one being hunted. So just like to turn the tables, it felt very empowering and super fun.
So I think that was the coolest part about the cast of the 1600s movie, was like getting to tell them everything that we had done and like our tips for filming at nighttime. You know what I mean? Like they asked us a lot of questions, and we like talked a lot about what we had been doing, and like they talked to us about like their script and everything like that. So it was really cool to like have that blended moment, and then like to hear about, we all became friends, and then they would like tell us about the 70s movie when they were filming and we had gone. And then to like watch that movie now, I'm like, what a cool time we had together.
I love the fact that Dina and Sam got their happy ending. I really love that. I think that was so important. I can't really see the trilogy working if that wasn't the case.
It's like the end of the road for the Sam and Dina story, but it also was kind of towards the end of Kiana and I's time filming. And yeah, like the day that we filmed the scene leaving Nick Good's house and we're covered in blood, like I don't think Kiana and I have ever taken more pictures together than that day. We took so many pictures up against the couches, and like, cause we were so covered in blood and that house was so crazy and clean. And it was such a funny, I think that scene is hilarious. So we had so much fun filming that scene.
And another thing that was so great is in movie 1, Dina says, when this is all over, we're going to eat cheeseburgers and listen to the Pixies. And then in movie 3, at the very end, Dina comes out with cheeseburgers and they listen to the Pixies and they have their moment. So it feels very like full circle.
If they made more Fear Street movies, I would totally be in any of them.
I would be so down to play in another or multiple Fear Street movies. If, you know, that end sequence where someone grabs the book, if there's going to be more, and this is going to keep happening over and over, I would love to play any kind of character that's going to help.
And I just feel so passionately about them. I would love to be like involved in them in any way possible for as long as they'll let me. I would totally do anything for them. I'll produce one. I don't even care.